Have you ever stopped to ask yourself a terrifying question? Has your soul ever truly been free? We spend our lives trapped in cycles: birth, struggle, suffering, death, and then another birth. Religions tell us it's divine. Science calls it biology. But what if the truth is darker than either side admits? What if every breath you take, every memory you form, and every choice you make is happening inside a prison so vast you cannot even see its walls? That prison, according to countless mystics and forbidden traditions, is the moon. From the beginning of recorded history, humanity has been obsessed with the moon. Ancient Sumerians mapped its cycles with almost religious precision. Egyptian priests worshipped it as the Eye of Horus. In India, the moon, Chandra, was worshipped as the lord of cycles and rebirth. But hidden beneath these stories lies a disturbing pattern. The moon was never just celebrated as a source of light. It was feared. In myth after myth, the moon was associated with madness, possession, and the endless repetition of time. What if that fear was not symbolic, but literal? What if the moon is not a passive rock orbiting our planet, but an engine of control? A cosmic device designed to keep human souls trapped in an endless cycle of reincarnation. This idea, once dismissed as fringe or delusional, has haunted spiritual traditions for centuries. The Gnostics spoke of the archons, parasitic entities who engineered false heavens to trick souls after death. Tibetan mystics warned, "Do not go into the light. It will only lead you back here again." And in modern times, even near-death experiences have described a tunnel of light, a powerful force that pulls the soul back toward Earth, whether it wants to return or not. If these warnings are true, then the moon is not just a satellite, it is the warden of a prison. Think about it. The moon has a perfectly synchronized orbit, always showing us the same face, as if hiding something. It controls our tides, our crops, even the fertility cycles of human beings. Its gravitational pull is written into the very rhythm of our biology. And if its physical presence can manipulate our bodies, what makes us think it cannot manipulate our souls? For thousands of years, humanity has believed in the promise of reincarnation, that after death we are reborn, carrying forward our lessons, moving closer to some higher state of existence. But what if reincarnation is not progress at all? What if it is a loop, a trap designed to drain us, to keep us docile, to stop us from ever escaping the system? Imagine this: a prisoner who wakes up every morning with no memory of his past, forced to play the same role in the same play over and over, while the audience, the archons, the controllers, the hidden powers, feed off his energy. That prisoner is us. That stage is Earth. And the moon is the machine that resets the script every time we die. This is not just theory. Ancient warnings align too closely with modern accounts to ignore. Why did Egyptian priests warn that the moon was the gate of souls? Why did Gnostics call it the false light? Why did mystics across cultures, from Native American shamans to Tibetan lamas, describe the moon as a recycling station for the dead? Because they knew. They understood that the moon matrix is real. And if this is true, then everything we've been told about life, death, and spiritual freedom is a lie. Heaven and hell, karma and rebirth, even the promise of enlightenment, all of it may be carefully crafted illusions designed to keep us chained. The moon is not a symbol of beauty in the night sky. It is the most terrifying prison ever built, because it doesn't just cage your body, it cages your soul. Tonight, as we begin this journey, you will see the evidence unfold. You will learn why ancient civilizations worshipped and feared the moon. You will discover the mechanics of the soul trap, the illusions that keep us blind, and, most importantly, the forbidden knowledge that might be the only way to break free. The moon has watched humanity for millennia, and humanity has stared back in awe. But the time for awe is over. Now it is time to see the moon for what it truly is, the warden of the greatest prison ever created. To understand the moon matrix, we have to go back, far back into the ancient world. Because while modern science insists the moon is nothing more than a lifeless rock, the ancients spoke of it with a strange mixture of reverence and fear. Their temples, myths, and sacred texts whisper a story that mainstream history ignores. The moon has always been more than just a light in the night sky. It has always been a force that shaped destiny. Let's begin in Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. The Sumerians worshipped the moon as the god Nana, a deity tied to fertility, cycles, and human destiny. He was often depicted with a crescent moon above his head, watching over humanity. But Sumerian texts also describe the moon as a judge of souls, a keeper of fates. Why would the moon be linked not only with crops and tides, but with the afterlife? Unless the ancients knew that the moon was directly involved in what happens to us after death. Move forward to Egypt. The Egyptians associated the moon with Thoth, the god of wisdom, measurement, and hidden knowledge. Thoth's role was not just to record history, but to weigh the souls of the dead. The moon, therefore, was the eye of the divine accountant, watching, recording, and keeping the cycle going. Egyptian priests also described the moon as a gate, one that the soul must pass through after death. Some would ascend, but most would be recycled, drawn back into the earthly cycle of suffering. Across the ocean, in India, the moon, Chandra, was revered as the god of cycles and rebirth. Hindu scriptures openly connect the moon with reincarnation. According to the Chandogya Upanishad, after death, souls travel to the moon. Some are allowed to escape into higher realms, but most are sent back down, reborn into new bodies. Here, in one of the world's oldest spiritual texts, we find a clear description of the moon as a recycling station for human souls. And it doesn't stop there. In Native American traditions, the moon was often described as the grandmother spirit, guiding souls into the afterlife. But many tribes also carried legends warning of the moon's deceptive power spirits trapped in endless wandering, never finding peace. Even in Chinese mythology, the moon was tied to cycles of immortality and entrapment. The goddess Chang'e was said to live eternally on the moon, forever unreachable, forever imprisoned. The pattern is undeniable. Across cultures and continents, the moon is not just a passive object in the sky. It is an active gatekeeper of souls. Now let's look deeper into the occult meaning of lunar cycles. The waxing moon has always symbolized growth, new beginnings, and birth. The waning moon has symbolized decline, death, and endings. But hidden in occult traditions is a darker interpretation. Waxing and waning are not just symbols of change, they are the opening and closing of a prison gate. Each cycle represents the continual recycling of souls, trapped in the wheel of time. The Gnostics, early Christian mystics who preserved forbidden knowledge, were even more explicit. They warned that the moon and the archons, the rulers of the material world, were part of a cosmic system designed to keep souls from ever escaping. In their writings, the moon was described as a counterfeit light, an imitation of true divinity. Souls who were drawn to its brilliance after death would be trapped, reincarnated, and enslaved all over again. Even the symbol of the serpent, often linked to the moon, tells the same story. In one hand, the serpent represents wisdom, hidden knowledge, and awakening, but in the other, it represents deception, temptation, and entrapment. The serpent coils endlessly, circling back upon itself, the perfect symbol of reincarnation as a prison. This is why lunar deities across cultures were so often paired with serpentine imagery. The ancients were not just telling stories, they were leaving warnings. And then there is the connection to Saturn. For the ancients, Saturn was the god of time, Kronos, the devourer of children, the ruler of cycles and decay. The cube, the hexagon, the black stone, all symbols of Saturn, are also deeply tied to the moon. Some occult traditions, claim that Saturn transmits the frequency of the prison and the moon receives it, projecting the illusion of reality into our minds. This Saturn-Moon connection appears in ancient texts, secret societies, and esoteric teachings across history. Why did so many civilizations, separated by oceans and centuries, carry nearly identical warnings? Why does the moon appear again and again as a god of rebirth, cycles, judgment, and false light? Because they knew something we have forgotten. They preserved the memory of the moon as a machine of control. They encoded the warnings into myth, symbol, and ritual, hoping that future generations would remember the truth. But humanity, seduced by the moon's beauty, has forgotten. We marvel at its silver glow. We write poetry to it, lovers kiss beneath it, and scientists measure its craters. Yet beneath its surface lies a terrifying possibility. The moon is not here to light our nights. It is here to keep us bound, trapped in an endless cycle of life and death. The ancients left us the warnings. The question is, are we willing to listen? If the moon is truly a prison, then the next question is obvious. How does it work? What mechanism could possibly trap billions of human souls across countless generations? The answer, preserved in fragments of mystical traditions and echoed in modern testimonies, lies in the process of death itself. When a human being dies, something extraordinary happens. Countless near-death experiences describe the same phenomenon, a brilliant tunnel of light opening in the distance, pulling the soul toward it with irresistible force. Mainstream culture tells us this is the gateway to heaven, a reunion with loved ones, or a step towards spiritual peace. But what if this tunnel is not a gateway to freedom, but a recycling chute back into the system? Mystics from ancient Tibet to early Gnostic Christians warned their followers about this false light. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes how, after death, the soul encounters dazzling lights and powerful beings. The text warns that these are illusions, traps meant to lure the soul back into the cycle of rebirth. Similarly, Gnostic writings describe archons, parasitic rulers who impersonate gods of light, promising salvation while secretly ensuring the soul is recycled into a new body. This cycle is what we call reincarnation. But in the moon matrix, reincarnation is not a path of spiritual progress. It is a loop, endlessly repeating, keeping souls trapped in material suffering. Every time you die, you are drawn toward the tunnel, tricked by the brilliance, and sent back down to earth. Your memories are wiped, your lessons reset, your prison sentence extended indefinitely. But why the moon? Ancient and modern esoteric traditions both point to the moon as the central hub of this process. Think of Saturn as the broadcaster and the moon as the receiver. Saturn emits a frequency, a vibration of control, that structures our reality, locking us into the grid of time. The moon receives this frequency, amplifies it, and beams it down onto Earth. Together, they create a kind of cosmic broadcast system, projecting the illusion of life as we know it. Even modern science gives us hints. The moon's gravitational pull controls our oceans and influences human biology. It regulates menstrual cycles, sleep patterns, even moods and mental health. If it can affect our bodies so deeply, is it so impossible to imagine it could also influence the non-physical part of us, our consciousness? Near-death experiences often describe not just light, but beings of light who greet the soul. They speak with soothing voices, promising love, peace, and reunion. But in occult traditions, these beings are nothing more than handlers of the prison, sent to pacify the soul and guide it willingly back into the system. Some experiencers even report a sense of deception, as if the beings are wearing masks, hiding their true forms. The mechanics of the trap are simple but devastating. The soul leaves the body. It is drawn into the tunnel of light, pulled by frequencies projected by the moon. It encounters entities that encourage it to accept judgment, karma, or unfinished lessons. The soul agrees, believing it is on a spiritual journey. And then, stripped of memory, It is forced into a new birth, a new life, a new round of suffering. This is why so many mystical traditions warn, do not go into the light. Instead, they advise the soul to resist, to recognize the light as an illusion, and to search for the true exit, a path beyond the lunar trap. Tibetan monks practiced death meditations to prepare for this moment. Gnostics cultivated direct gnosis, knowledge of reality beyond illusion, so they could resist the pull. Shamans spoke of soul journeys that bypassed the moon altogether, traveling to higher realms unconnected to the cycle of rebirth. The terrifying part is that very few succeed. Most souls, disoriented and overwhelmed by the brilliance, go willingly into the light. And so the cycle continues, century after century, with humanity unaware that its very essence is being harvested. But harvested by whom? The Gnostics spoke of archons, cosmic parasites that feed on human energy. Every reincarnation ensures a fresh lifetime of suffering, fear, and worship, all of which generate energy for the system. In this way, the prison is not only eternal, it is also profitable. Think of Earth as a farm, humanity as the livestock, and the moon as the slaughterhouse door. We enter, we exit, but we never escape. We are reborn, we suffer, we die, and the process repeats, providing endless sustenance to powers beyond our sight. This is the hidden architecture of the moon matrix. It is not just a theory, it is a design, a system perfected over millennia to keep the human soul from ever reaching its true potential. And unless we learn to see through the illusion, we will remain trapped, again and again and again. If the moon matrix is truly a prison, then the cruelest trick of all is this: even when we think we are awakening, we may still be inside the system. The illusion is not just physical, it is psychological, emotional, and even spiritual. Humanity has always sought liberation. Across ages, prophets, mystics, and teachers promised freedom. Religions arose with the hope of salvation, enlightenment, or paradise after death. But what if many of these promises are part of the trap? What if the very systems designed to free us are tools to keep us enslaved? Let's begin with religion. Nearly every major tradition describes an afterlife of judgment. Souls are weighed, measured, and sent either to eternal bliss or eternal punishment. But look closer, in all cases, the soul still passes through a gate of light, still encounters powerful beings who demand obedience, still accepts a destiny beyond its control. Whether it is angels, deities, or cosmic judges, the pattern remains the same. The soul submits to authority. That submission may not be salvation. It may be the mechanism of control. Then consider karma and reincarnation, celebrated in many Eastern traditions as paths of growth. We are told that each life brings lessons, and if we master them, we rise higher until finally we escape the cycle. But if the cycle itself is rigged, then these lessons may be nothing more than excuses to justify why we are sent back again and again. Karma becomes the perfect justification for eternal imprisonment. You failed, therefore you must return. You sinned, therefore you must serve another sentence. In this way, the soul accepts its slavery as justice. Even more disturbing is the illusion of spiritual enlightenment. Many seekers devote their lives to meditation, prayer, or ritual, hoping to ascend beyond the material world. And yet, countless traditions describe luminous beings, radiant heavens, and blissful states of light. Exactly the kind of illusions the moon matrix specializes in projecting. What if enlightenment is nothing more than another level of the prison, a more comfortable cell designed to convince you that you are free? The Gnostics spoke directly about this. They claimed that false gods created the heavens and the earth, building not only the material cage, but also spiritual illusions to keep souls from ever reaching true freedom. According to them, even the promise of paradise was a counterfeit reward, a golden chain keeping humanity bound. This idea appears in other traditions too. In Buddhism, there is the concept of Mara, the great deceiver, who distract seekers with visions of bliss to prevent them from attaining true liberation. In Hindu texts, the term Maya describes the cosmic illusion that veils reality. Both point to the same terrifying truth. Spiritual visions themselves may be traps. Even modern spirituality is not immune. The New Age movement often emphasizes light, love, and ascension. But how often does it question whether that light is genuine? Many channelers and mediums describe encounters with shining beings who speak soothing words. But the Gnostic warning echoes. These could be archons in disguise, projecting whatever the soul wants to see, ensuring it never questions the system. Why would the prison need such illusions? Because no prison survives on force alone. To endure for millennia, it must convince the prisoners that they are free, or at least that their suffering serves a purpose. This is the genius of the Moon Matrix. It doesn't just trap us physically, it traps our minds. It gives us religions to follow, karmic debts to repay, and spiritual goals to chase. It keeps us busy with rituals, prayers, and ascensions, all the while ensuring we never escape the cycle. Think about how many people dedicate their lives to spiritual pursuit, only to die believing they will ascend, while unknowingly walking into the same tunnel of light as everyone else. Their devotion, their discipline, their faith, all of it may only strengthen the system because they accept the very framework that enslaves them. And here lies the most chilling thought: humans defend the system that imprisons them. We fight wars over religion. We judge one another over karma. We argue endlessly about which path leads to enlightenment. Yet all the while, the moon watches, feeding the cycle, ensuring the prison remains unchallenged. This is the illusion of awakening. It is not enough to pray, meditate, or worship. It is not enough to chase light, bliss, or ascension. True freedom requires seeing through the illusions entirely, recognizing that even the most beautiful visions may be lies, crafted to keep us docile. The moment you question the system, you take your first step toward liberation. But questioning alone is not enough. The prison is vast, and its walls are built not only of stone, but of belief, obedience, and hope. To break free, we must learn not only to see the bars, but also to reject them, even when they appear as light. If everything we've uncovered is true, if the moon really is the prison of souls, then the most urgent question is this: can we escape? The ancients did not leave us without guidance. Hidden within their teachings are fragments of a map, whispers of a forbidden escape. These teachings were often ridiculed, suppressed, or twisted into dogma. But when we look closely, the pieces begin to align. The Tibetan Book of the Dead instructs the soul not to follow the dazzling lights after death, but instead to seek the clear light of the void, the pure awareness that exists beyond illusion. To recognize the false lights is to resist the pull of the moon matrix. Similarly, the Gnostics taught that salvation does not come from gods, angels, or external saviors. It comes from gnosis, direct knowledge of the truth. Only through knowledge can the soul refuse the counterfeit heavens and find its way to freedom. Even in Christianity, fragments of this teaching remain. Christ spoke of the kingdom of God within you. Yet this inner kingdom was overshadowed by institutions that demanded obedience to external authorities. Perhaps the original message was the same as the Gnostics. True liberation comes not from worshipping a master, but from awakening to the truth within. But how does one break free at the moment of death? First, we must be aware of the trap itself. Awareness is the key. A prisoner who knows he is in prison is already halfway to escape. The moon matrix depends on ignorance. It depends on us believing the tunnel of light is salvation. The moment we recognize it as a mechanism of control, we gain the power to resist. Second, we must cultivate clarity of consciousness. Practices like meditation, lucid dreaming, or deep self-inquiry are not ends in themselves, they are training. Training to stay awake in the face of illusion. If we can remain conscious when the body falls away, If we can remember that the light is a trap, we may choose a different path. Third, we must reject the handlers, the beings of light, the judges, the gods who appear, no matter how loving or radiant they seem, must be recognized for what they are, wardens of the prison. They will appeal to our guilt, our attachments, our longing to see loved ones again. But their purpose is singular, to make us step willingly back into the cycle. To resist them requires courage, clarity, and the memory of this truth. Finally, we must aim for the beyond, the void, the uncreated, the reality outside the lunar frequency. Many traditions describe it differently. Nirvana, the paroma, the absolute, but they all agree it is beyond form, beyond light, beyond illusion. To reach it, the soul must ignore the bait, step past the illusions, and choose freedom over comfort. Make no mistake, this path is not easy. Most souls will never question the light. Most will return again and again, feeding the system, keeping the moon's prison full. That is why this knowledge is so rare, so forbidden, because the system thrives on compliance, and those who break free threaten its very survival. But once you know the truth, you can never unknow it. The next time you look at the moon, remember, it is not just a glowing companion in the night sky. It is the warden, watching, waiting, ensuring the prison remains intact. And the next time you wonder why life feels like an endless cycle of struggle, remember, this may not be your first time here. It may not be your 100th. The choice is yours. When death comes, and it will, you can step into the tunnel, accept the familiar warmth, and return once again to the endless prison. Or you can resist. You can reject the false light, the handlers, the illusions. You can choose the unknown. You can choose freedom. The moon matrix has trapped humanity for millennia. But the prison only works if the prisoners consent. The moment you refuse, the walls begin to crumble. So ask yourself, here and now, when your final moment arrives, will you walk willingly back into the cage? Or will you defy the light and break free, once and for all?